Good morning. Welcome to the worship service of the Unitarian Universalist Church of the Monterey Peninsula. My name is Steve Johnson, and I am currently serving as a member of your church's Board of Trustees. Whoever you are, wherever you are on your life's journey, you are welcome here. We acknowledge and honor that we gather on land sacred to the Ohlone, Esselen, Rumsen, Mutsun, and Salinan indigenous peoples and First Nations. We recognize the need to continue the work to reconcile and repair the harms of oppression and colonization. If you are a visitor here today, we invite you to raise your hand so we can welcome you. Hey, way in the back. We also encourage you to fill out a yellow visitor card, which is available in the welcome hall. If you are a Zoom visitor, please fill out our virtual visitor card. You're also welcome to introduce yourself in the chat. This month's worship theme is creativity. Today's service is entitled Co-Creating with the Universe and is led by worship associates Ray Kreis and Bjorn Nilsson. Our greeters this morning are Kent Weinstein and Doug Chandler Jr., and our ushers are Mibbs McCarthy and Wanda Sue Parrott. Thanks to you all for your participation and contributions to our service this morning. Please be sure to check out our new art exhibit in the Welcome Hall. Our featured artist is Dorothy Stoneley, whose style is abstract and non-representational, and whose primary subject is color. Dorothy's exhibition runs now through July 28th. The UUCMP Soil Mates group wants to remind you that you still have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to visit 3 spectacularly unique gardens and indulge in tasty bites on June 3rd. This auction donation also demonstrates your support of our UUCMP community. More information is available on our website or in the weekly newsletter, or contact Kathleen Craig by email. More details about these items and much more, including our upcoming UUA General Assembly, can be found in our weekly e-newsletter and on our website. This month's shared offering recipient is KIND, which stands for Kids in Need of Desks. This UNICEF USA campaign seeks to provide scholarships for our young learners in Malawi and southeastern Africa. Checks made out to UUCMP with KIND in the memo line, and half of today's cash offering will benefit this important organization. And now we welcome John Zarnecki to the pulpit for Remembrance of Memorial Day. Thank you.
Been a long time. Good morning to all of you, and good morning to our Zoom people as well, fellow Zoomers. As the designated veteran, I'm here to remind you that tomorrow is Memorial Day. On behalf of our fellow citizens who gave up their lives in defense of this our troubled country, I ask you to pause just a moment in the midst of your cookouts or picnics or barbecues tomorrow, and remember their sacrifice. They certainly didn't seek to die and forego their futures. The ones I knew would all have desperately wanted to celebrate the day with merriment and music. But that's not what awaited them. Instead, a bullet or a shell or some other deadly human concoction literally took their breath away. Personally, I don't celebrate it all on Memorial Day. There's too much memory and sadness for me. Instead, around retreat, which is the end of day in the military, which is also 5 p.m. or if 1700 if you are from the military, I will pour one stiff shot of Henry McKenna 10-year-old bourbon and toast their living as I recall their dying. Thank you.
Thank you, John, for helping us remember and centering us for the day tomorrow. And now, we invite those of you here in the sanctuary to turn and wave to our Zoom folks right up there. And now, whether you're on Zoom or here in person, please take a moment to greet your neighbor. And as we enter into a spirit of contemplation and worship, we ask that you please hold your applause until the end of our service. And now, please enjoy our Mozartian prelude. Thank you, Lucy. Our call to worship this morning is entitled A Place of Belonging and Caring by Kimberly Ann Tomczak Carlson. It's not by chance that you arrived here today. You've been looking for something larger than yourself. Inside of you, there's a yearning, a calling, a hope for more, a desire for a place of belonging and caring. Through your struggles, someone nurtured you into being, instilling a belief in a shared purpose, a common yet precious resource that belongs to all of us when we share. And so you began seeking a beloved community, a people that does not put fences around love, a community that holds its arms open to the possibilities of love, a heart home to nourish your soul and share your gifts. Welcome home. Welcome to worship. And now please rise in body or spirit and join in our gathering song, which we'll sing twice. And now, with Unitarian Universalists around the world, we light our chalice, a symbol of our faith and our covenanted aspirations of love, hope, and justice. And I'll begin, then please join in the response as Julian lights the flame. We gather together as a community of memory and hope to celebrate life and its infinite possibilities for love. We light this chalice as a symbol of the light within every human heart. May our individual sparks meet and merge, bring both light and warmth to the world. Now, please enjoy our story for all ages entitled What If by Samantha Berger.
Today, we're reading the story entitled What If, written by Samantha Berger, pictures by Mike Curato. With a pencil and paper, I write and draw art to create many stories that come from my heart. But what if that pencil one day disappeared? I'd fold up the paper till stories appeared. And what if that paper was no longer there? I'd chisel the table and then carve the chair. And what if there wasn't a chair here at all? I'd chip and I'd peel at the paint on the wall. And what if there wasn't a wall anymore? I might build a story from boards in the floor. Without any floor, I could still use the land and sketch out a tale in the dirt with my hand. I could still shape the leaves. I could still sculpt the snow. I could still plant the flowers and make kingdoms grow. Without any land, I would still use the light. Invent shadow stories the sun would ignite. If there was no light, I would still use my voice to sing out my stories, to chant and rejoice. I'd still have my body to twist and to bend, to dance out my stories, beginning to end. If I had nothing, but still had my mind, there'd always be stories to seek and to find. If I know nothing but one bit of fate, as long as I live, I will always create. As long as I live, I will always create. The end.
Now, please join in the song of departing as the children and youth follow their teachers and go to their classes this morning.
My promise to the kind fund and UNICEF is that I won't let them down. I'll do better, and I'll be a lawyer no matter what, to help people to get that justice that they actually deserve.
I will not let them down. I will do better, and I will be a lawyer no matter what, to help people get the justice that they deserve. Faith Namanguio gets tonight's last word.
You all remember Faith. I spoke of her last month. She wants to be a lawyer and bring justice to the world. At that time, I proposed that educating girls could create change beyond your imagination. Let me give my example. The year was 2005. I was teaching a class of Ugandan doctors and advanced students on the management of HIV/AIDS in children. About 2 weeks into the 6 weeks course, I was increasingly impressed with Barbara. One day, after class, I asked her what she wanted to do. I want to become a pediatrician, but my sister had just died of AIDS, left me with 2 children, one with HIV. I have 2 boys of my own, and I'm putting my other sister through college. I asked her how we could help create her dream. 2 days later, she handed me a budget. Long story short, with Cindy's help and mine, in 5 years, she graduated a pediatric doctor. When she asked how she could thank us, I said that when she was able, the best she could do would be to help other young people when they needed help. Well, she first worked at Baylor College of Medicine HIV clinic in Kampala, one of the largest HIV clinics in East Africa. In a few years, she was appointed by the Ugandan Ministry of Health as Director of Adolescent and Pediatric healthcare. Now, she is the UNICEF Director for Adolescent Health and HIV for Uganda. She also cares for her children and 8 others, 1 child from her deceased sister with HIV. They are all in various stages of education and college preparation. This is Barbara, this winter, presenting at the regional conference.
Hello, my name is Dr. Barbara Sire from UNICEF Uganda Country Office. I am so grateful to share my testimony with you. I'm grateful to the Universal Unitarian Church community that I benefited from through Dr. Bill Nilsson in 2004 when he identified me as a girl or a female medical doctor and supported me through my postgraduate education, and I qualified as a pediatrician. And I am also now supporting other children and also working as an adolescent health and HIV specialist in Uganda. I am happy that you've given the girl child an opportunity to explore and achieve their full potential and dreams. And I wish this could continue even for other countries in this region. For example, in Malawi, where they've been struggling with a long epidemic of cholera. And I know that their HIV program is also still not very good. And it's struggling, it's not as mature as Uganda. And as Africa, most of our cultures promote the boy child. But I pray that God can provide for you so that you can support the girl child in Malawi as well, so that they can achieve their full potential. Thank you very much.
She calls me father, I call her doctor, and daughter. So $185 will educate a girl in Malawi in secondary school for a year. Give generously. I thank you, and now let's go on to hymn number 289, Creative Love, Our Thanks We Give.
This our world is incomplete, that struggle creates our will to live, that work awaits our hands and feet, that we are not yet fully wise, that we are in the making still, as friends who share one enterprise and strive to blend with nature's will. What though the future long delayed, and
It's good that we take time each week in our service, set aside a little time, and maybe just take a deep breath. Let's do that. Pause and think about what's been happening in the last week in our lives, in the lives of those we care about, the people we love, whether they're close to us, in proximity or far away, and also what's been happening in the world. Each of us brings our own joys and sorrows this morning, which are in our minds and also in our hearts. And so we invite any of you so moved to come forward using both sides of the aisles to drop a pebble representing your individual joys and concerns into our shared waters of love and support. And if you're joining us by Zoom, you can write a joy or concern in the chat. Please come forward. Our meditation this Memorial Day weekend is a medley of prayers and thoughts from world religions. Following the meditation, we'll keep a moment of silence. So please join me now in the spirit of prayer and meditation. This is an old soldier's prayer by Lewis Millet. I've fought when others feared to serve. I've gone where others failed to go. I've lost friends in war and strife who valued duty more than love of life. I've challenged men I've seen challenged men become even bolder. I've seen the duty, honor, sacrifice of the soldier. Now I understand the meaning of our lives, the loss of comrades not so very long ago. So to you who have answered duty's siren call, may God bless you, my children. May God bless us all. And this prayer of good over evil, light over dark from Hinduism, fill the heart with the oil of love. Place in it the wick of a single-pointed mind. Light it with the knowledge of truth and remove the darkness of ignorance around you. Just as one lamp can light many lamps, let each youth kindle this light in many hearts. And this traditional Buddhist prayer: may all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all be free from sorrow and the causes of sorrow. May all never be separated from the sacred happiness, which is sorrowless. And may all live in equanimity without too much attachment and too much aversion, and live believing in the equality of all lives. And then this from the Rig Veda of Hinduism: let us be united. Let us speak in harmony. Let our minds apprehend alike. Common be our prayer. Common be the end of our assembly. Common be our resolution. Common be our deliberations. Alike be our feelings, unified in our hearts, common in our intentions, perfect in our unity. And finally, Lao Tzu's peace prayer from Taoism: if there is to be peace in the world, there must be peace in the nations. And if there's to be peace in the nations, there must be peace in the cities. And if there's to be peace in the cities, there must be peace between neighbors. And if there is to be peace between neighbors, there must be peace in the home. And if there is to be peace in the home, there must be peace in the heart. This now is the time for our morning offering, and we encourage you to think about your financial support for our church and the resources which the church needs to carry out its good work. We encourage those of you at home to write a check and drop it in the mail, or use the donate button on the website. Any check so designated in the memo line, and half of our cash collection today will support our shared offering recipient of the month, KIND, K-I-N-D. So on behalf of the congregation, mindful of our responsibility to use our gifts wisely, we thank you for your generosity. The ushers may come forward. And now please enjoy our offertory music. And now as our ushers come forward, please join in the singing of our offertory response. Thank you for your generous gifts.
Today's first reading is by Rick Rubin in his book, The Creative Act, A Way of Being. Of all the great works that we can experience, nature is the most absolute and enduring. We can witness its change through the seasons. We can see it in the mountains, the oceans, the deserts, and the forests. We can watch the changes of the moon each night and the relationship between the moon and the stars. One indicator of inspiration is awe. We tend to take so much for granted. How can we move past disconnection and desensitization to the incredible wonders of nature and human engineering all around us? Most of what we see in the world holds the potential to inspire astonishment if looked at from a less jaded perspective. Train yourself to see the awe behind the obvious. Look at the world from the vantage point as often as possible. Submerge yourself. The beauty is around us, enriches our lives in so many ways. It is an end in itself, and it sets an example for our own work. We can aim to develop the eye for harmony and balance, as if creations have always been there like mountains and feathers. Think of the universe as an eternal creative unfolding. Trees blossom, cells replicate, rivers forge new tributaries. The world pulses with productive energy, and everything that exists on this planet is driven by that energy. Every manifestation of this unfolding is doing its own work on behalf of the universe, each in its own way, true to its own creative impulse.
Thank you, Bjorn. Our second and final reading today is by David Brooks in his book, The Second Mountain, Quest for a Moral Life. Brooks writes, "In this book, I've talked a lot about two mountains. As I mentioned, this device was an attempt to render in narrative form the contrast between two different moral worldviews. The first mountain is the individualistic worldview, which puts the desires of ego at the center. The second mountain is what you might call the relationalist worldview, which puts relation, commitment, and the desires of the heart and soul at the center. My core argument has been that we've overdone it with the individualistic worldview. By conceiving of ourselves mostly as autonomous selves, we've torn our society to shreds, opened up division and tribalism, come to worship individual status and self-sufficiency, and covered over what is most beautiful in each human heart and soul." I sat in terror at my desk as an 8th grader in middle school. The teacher was working her way around the classroom and would soon arrive at my desk. It was art class. We'd been given the homework assignment to create a drawing of our favorite animal. While glancing around at other kids' desks, I could see line drawings of lots of dogs and cats, of course. Fido and Kitty had obviously been great models for these budding visual artists. But I also spied some pretty good renderings of whales and hamsters, birds of various kinds. Then there was the drawing by Tommy Benson, who proudly showed the teacher his rendering of, as he announced in a loud voice, a Gila monster. None of us were ever quite sure what to expect from Tommy. So, Ray, what have you got to show us today? Miss Francis said as she approached my desk. Oh my, she gasped, spying the blank page before me. No favorite animal? She queried that with what seemed at least to be a somewhat fear-reducing smile and gentle voice. Maybe a gopher, I blurted out. I don't even know why. Maybe because I'd seen gophers on some Walt Disney TV show or something. But with 4 effortless strokes of my teacher's pen, the silhouette of a tiny gopher-like creature appeared on my paper. Practice your gophers now for the rest of the period, she instructed. Suddenly, that was much more sternly said as she walked on to the next student's desk. And practice I did. I covered my little canvas paper with dozens of stick figures of gophers, great and small, until there was no space left. Now, these drawings were meant to be the centerpiece of Miss Francis' art exhibit for Parents' Night the next week at school. Embarrassingly, but perhaps also thankfully, my gopher mosaic was not displayed. My parents seemed oblivious to my obvious lack of visual creativity, and for some reason, they never even asked me for an explanation. This month's worship theme has been creativity. And in our worship services, we've heard the lament, like mine today, of those of us who at one time or another in our lives have seemed to lack the creative spirit. Yet on the positive side, we've also reflected upon the virtues of creative parenting and its opening to children of wonderful possibilities. And we've also been buoyed by the creative youth of our own religious exploration group, kids and teens on display at last week's multi-generational program. I survived my art class humiliation, of course. At 14, all of us are still trying to figure ourselves out, come to terms with the things that do enthrall us, find what skills we might have to advance that enthrallment, and what we might have to give to others, sharing those gifts. Although it seems logical to think that first of art, when it's speaking of an expression of creativity, like musical composition, drawing, painting, sculpture, dance, literature, architecture, still, I think that creativity is central to the very fact of life itself. Creativity defines our very being. There is tremendous power in the creativity of being itself and of being ourselves. Henry David Thoreau hinted at the power like this when he wrote, quote, "It's something to be able to paint a particular picture or to carve a sculpture and to make a few objects beautiful. But it's far more glorious to paint and carve the very atmosphere and medium through which we look, which morally we can do, to affect the quality of the day. That's the highest of the arts. Now, our species has long been grasped by creativity and has sought to understand it, harness it, use creative power to shape our environment and succeed in our evolutionary development. The plethora of creation myths around the world and through the ages certainly attest to this fact. So if you've only ever read the creation myth of Judaism as relayed to us in the Old Testament, you've got a wealth of stories awaiting you from different countries and environments and through the millennia of human recorded history: the Mayan, the Cherokee, the Egyptian, the native peoples of Australia, the Norse of Scandinavia, and on and on. And while all these stories, myths, and legends may be helpful to us now, all are also impaired by the scientific and philosophical limitations of antiquity and by the segmented regionalization of their place of derivation. A religion seems to me to be meaningful in its time and place must take into account the scientific understanding of its environment and era. So today's astrophysics suggests a majestic universe with physical laws of gravity, space, and time, a big original Big Bang, and an expanding universe ever since. At the other end of the physical spectrum, subatomic particle behavior challenges our understanding of reality itself and continues to define how the smallest of things are the foundations of it all. Now, I want to know about the scientific understanding of how things work, but I'm even more grasped by the question of how things matter. The universe, a physical process, seems to have no inherent meaning. But wait, what about evolution? The amazing local earthly phenomenon of evolution, leading to the ability of earthly creation to reflect upon itself, to understand its derivations, and to assign meaning to that experience, leading to creatures like us, means that we can co-create with the universal physical process to create meaning. Now, with all humility, until we have definite evidence of other intelligent life forms in the universe, we are its voice, or at least we're one of them. What an amazing gift we Homo sapiens have been given, and what a responsibility this gift imposes. As religious people in the 21st century, we want to bend the universe towards love. That's our hope, and that's the faithful goal of our co-creation with the universe. But we can do this only with courage, determination, and humility. Okay, as always in one of my philosophical, quasi-theological probes, it's time to take off my glasses and just make sure the lenses are clear and not rose-colored. What does this idea of co-creativity mean in a practical way for our lives? It's sure easy to get depressed in our quest to promote love in the world of everyday life. Greed, hatred, racism, sexism, unjust discriminations, wars, pandemics, mass shootings, on and on. And those of us who must inhabit the online world of the internet are prone to the phrase doom scrolling through the negative news of the day on our phones and tablets and computers, can be so psychologically debilitating. I ended a recent doom scroll with 2 depressing memes. First was, each of us has a novel inside of us. And for most, that's where it should stay. And then I scrolled a little further and it said, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. It's a train. I remember watching the news on TV with my dad 70 years ago. Oof. Dad was an early adopter of TV technology. The TV screen was kind of the size of an oscilloscope. And it was in this 3 by 3 foot wooden cabinet. But it was all bad news on the news watching. But now we get it 24/7 via multiple media. It's too much. Also, I think that fear of failure can inhibit our creative actions toward love. And the sense that we are a minority opinion may inhibit us. The very fact that evolution seems to have just selected us by selfish requirement to survive the challenging environment of our developmental past, that makes us think that our thoughts and words and deeds for love in each day don't matter. But have courage, they do. And be determined, they do. In our reading this morning from David Brooks' book, The Second Mountain, Brooks talks about the dangers of building a moral, ethical life on individualism. He further elaborates, and I quote here, "The world is in the midst of one of those transition moments. The individualistic moral ecology is crumbling around us. It has left people naked and alone. For many, the first instinctive reaction is the evolutionary one, revert to tribe. If we as society respond to the excesses of I'm free to be myself with an era of revert to tribe, then the 21st century it'll be a time of conflict and violence that will make the 20th look like child's play." He goes on, "There's another way to find belonging. There's another way to find meaning and purpose. There is another version of a healthy society. It's through relationalism. It is by going deep into ourselves and finding there our illimitable ability to care, and then spreading outward in commitment to others." End quote. I think that the antidote to all this negativism is the fact that in a religious community, we do not co-create alone. Co-creation includes the fact that we create the positive values of love and hope and justice together. Strength in numbers. The co-creation of us together as a church community, of us as a religious association and movement. We need to develop a good sense of reverence for life, an appreciation for the mysterious miracle of life, that is, us. As Albert Schweitzer wrote a century ago, all life is connected. Every breath we take is a creative act and a reverent ritual. It's somewhat counterintuitive, I guess, to think that co-creativity begins with the creation of our individual selves, but our psychological individualism is still really co-created with our parents and our siblings, extended families and friends who may instruct, inform, or cajole us along the way to maturation. Remember those words of Thoreau. It's something to be able to paint a particular picture, or a gopher, or to carve a sculpture and to make a few objects beautiful. But it's far more glorious to paint and carve the very atmosphere and medium through which we look, which we morally can do, to affect the quality of the day. That's the highest of the arts. And David Brooks asks us to look deep inside of ourselves and find the ability to care. In other words, find our core of love and then spread that outward in commitment to others. Although I strive to eschew reductionist thinking, I recently heard a summary of the life to strive for, as described by a leading physicist that was on a YouTube broadcast. Admitting that the material physical world seems to show no overarching meaning, and that the real question is not what's the meaning of life, but rather what's the meaning in life. He said this. He simply summarized life's goals in a few words. Be kind and help those who need help. Now, to unpack that a little bit. Yes, let us live our lives day to day in kindness and respect for the inherent worth and dignity of all those that we meet. But then let us move to empathy, the ability to see another's point of view, even if we don't agree with that view. And then proceed to compassion, the deep sympathy for another's plight, and the wish to alleviate need and suffering. And then finally, to embrace love itself, the overpowering freedom of self-giving, which can transform us and the world around us, which can bend the universe itself toward love. Finally, let us help those in need, no matter whether that need is physical, emotional, psychological, or a matter of social justice. May we, at one in substance with the universe, through the exploding stars of antiquity, may we, through our creative feelings, thoughts, words, and deeds, may we move our lives, our community, our nation, and our earth, yes, even the universe itself, to an everlasting place of peace and love. So may it be, now and always. Amen. And now please arise in body or spirit and join in the singing of our closing hymn number 298, Wake Now, My Senses.
Wake now, my senses, and hear the earth call. Feel the deep power of being in all. Keep with the web of creation your vow. Giving, receiving, as love shows us how. Wake now, my reason, reach out to the new. Join with each pilgrim who quests for the true. Honor the beauty and wisdom of time. Suffer thy limit, embrace the sublime. Wake now, compassion, heed to the cry. Voices of suffering fill the wide sky. Take as your neighbor, both stranger and friend. Pray justice thy guide. Join with the people whose rights are denied. Take not for granted a privileged place. God's love embraces the whole human race. Wake now my vision of ministry clear, brighten my pathway with radiance here. Mingle my calling with all who will share, work toward a planet transformed by our care.
Thank you. Please be seated. Now, please join in the unison words as we extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this chalice, but take its light into our lives, to be the presence of love in the midst of fear, the voice of hope in the midst of despair, and the hands of justice, restoring a world worthy of our children. Now, please imagine holding hands for our benediction. The benediction today is by Tom Shade. It's entitled, A Power at Work in the Universe. My friends, there is a power at work in the universe. It works through human hands, but it's not made by human hands. It is a creative, sustaining, and transforming power. And we can trust that power with our lives and with our ministries. It will sustain us whenever we take a stand on the side of love, whenever we take a stand for peace and justice, whenever we take a risk. Trust in that power. We are together held by that power. And now enjoy our closing postlude.
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love.
Our worship service is over, but we invite you to join us for coffee and conversation in the Welcome Hall. And if you're on Zoom, stick around for a breakout room. Have a great Sunday, everyone.